Hello, everyone. Good day to you. I am broadcasting live from my neighbor's house just outside of Warrior Heart Ranch up in the Santa Fe National Forest. So exciting. There's internet. Um, and we are celebrating the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge. Today is, I think we're in day 6. So I'm doing a live just to check in and say hello to everyone. Blessed Sunday to you. And to share a little bit about our theme today for Warrior Goddess Wild, and to share a little bit with you about the land as well that I am at. So we are approaching spring equinox, and it's a really, really powerful time because on the spring equinox this year, there is also a new moon in Aries. And so we have double impact of new beginnings, opening into possibilities, and also learning how to balance the joy and the sorrows, how to be in open-heartedness with the beauty and the destruction. So I wanna share, so some of you know this, that last April, hey, hello. Last April, the US Forest Service lit what was called a controlled burn about 30 miles north of here, and that controlled burn got out of control, and surprise, surprise, the winds were like 40 miles an hour that day, and it ended up burning over 4 months, over 400,000 acres and destroying just a tremendous amount of property and life, and well, not life, actually, nobody died. Animals did. Lots of animals died, and houses. So my ranch that I steward, which is right up the hill here, Warrior Heart Ranch, we lost about 175 acres of forest. And yesterday I spent the day cutting down blackened, sooty trees and clearing the land. So this is what the land looks like. Again, I'm at my neighbor's house. We're off grid up the hill. And then this is what happened. So I don't know if you can see, that was my neighbor's house right there. And the forest behind that house burned completely. So as we approach equinox, for me, this is a time of really deepening into how to hold everything, how to hold the beauty and the sorrow. And I have so much hope. So it's been challenging, obviously, but I also have tremendous hope, and that is represented by this little seed ball. And the seed balls are designed, you put clay and compost and seeds and wrap it all together and put it out on the land. And when the rains come, then the clay melts, and then the seeds have a little support system to help to come up. So we're about to make hundreds and hundreds of seed balls very soon. I'll be sharing more about that. And as we connect with our wild as part of our Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge, our theme today is how to be in pleasure even when we feel challenged. So, oh, thank you, Natalie. So yesterday, as I was chainsawing trees down and covered in soot and sawdust, and every time I cut a tree down, or every time, because there's the area where I was working with, there's also green trees, and so I was also trimming the limbs up, the dead bottom limbs and the dead burnt limbs up, so that the trees could be healthier and have more energy to the parts that are alive. Every time that I cut a tree down or trimmed a tree, I would say thank you to it. I would send my love to it. I would send prayers to the roots and the sun and the green and the animals. And so even though it was hard work, physically hard work and emotionally hard work, it was also joyful. There was also pleasure there because I knew I was tending the forest in the way that the forest needs to be tended. And sometimes when we have to do challenging things, whatever that challenging thing might be, that we can get into a mindset of like, I'm not allowed to have pleasure or to have any joy because I have to do this hard thing and I need to grind down and just make this hard thing happen. But what I've found is that we can actually bring prayer and pleasure and joy even into the hard tasks, that we don't have to separate. I have to do a hard thing and then I can have pleasure later, that we can actually bring them together. So that's my invitation to all of us today as we move closer to the equinox, which is the balance of day and night, that we are able to hold both the challenging, hard times and the joy and the pleasure and learn how to bring them together, to not keep them separate, but that in this day of balance, that we learn how to balance pleasure and challenge, that we learn to bring together joy with heartbreak because it's all there. It's only our minds that keep them separated or that think they should be separated. There's such beauty that happens when we learn how to hold that paradox of life, which is things burnt to the ground and things growing from that burn. The wildflowers last fall were so spectacular, and that was because of the fire. So, and we'll see what happens this spring. So, there's always a tenderness and a vulnerability about being in the middle of the destruction and the birthing process. And we can root into being more steady and more present. So one of the things I've been sharing throughout the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge is that we're not connecting to our wild, inspired, creative, exploratory, adventurous self in order to bypass the challenges or the struggles of being in a human body. We're learning how to be fully in a human body and a human experience and hold all of it. That's what it means to be wild, is that we're connected to nature and that we understand that nature is unpredictable, just like life is unpredictable, and that we're willing to be in a wildly creative and passionate and joyful place in relationship with all of it. Mhm. Thanks, CG. Yeah, so simply and beautifully explain how one can find the silver lining in tough times and how to embrace those silver linings. Yeah. And it's definitely about embracing the silver linings and holding the heartbreak and the sorrow and the grief, that we'd get to do both. Yeah, exactly. Aw, yes, living the dual, the and. I needed this today as I have some hard work ahead of me. Oh, thanks for sharing, Natalie. Yes, may we be in the and. May we be in the and. No, there's in improv, I just recently learned this, that whenever, people are working together to do improv, that if somebody brings something forward, you never say, "No, that's not gonna work." You just say, "Yes, and." So you take whatever is brought forward and you I think about it as like you weave a stitch with your and then you open it to possibilities. And that is what we can learn to do with life, is to see what's being presented to us and to hook a stitch of like, "Okay, and that we're holding all of it and looking at, okay, what are the possibilities?" But not too fast, right? I gave myself time to really grieve the loss up here, up on the land, and to walk through the forests that were completely burned to the ground, that even the soil was sterilized, the fire was so hot, and let myself feel the devastation and grieve and honor the deep loss that is here of the animals and the plants. And so part of learning how to bring pleasure in even when we're challenged is the capacity to learn to be with the challenge, to let ourselves feel it, and then open, okay, what's possible? What's possible? What else? And so there's that dance of being in the grief and opening to possibilities and not negating the sorrow and also not drowning ourselves in it. There's that beautiful balance that we're all learning, I think how to do. So last night was another magical time up here because it rained almost all night. Oh, which it wasn't forecast to rain, but I think we're getting the some of the huge rains that are happening in California. So you can see by my truck tire how muddy it is up here. I kind of slid and slided my way down the hill to get on internet at my neighbor's house. So really grateful that I could be here with you all today and checking in about the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge and this coming equinox that we're moving towards. So if you haven't joined the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge and you'd like to get it's a 7-day challenge. There's little videos and teachings. Everything is recorded. You get an email every day. So even if you're joining now, which is I think we're on day 5. Yeah, we're on day 5. Even if you're joining now, you can go back and watch the previous videos. Today's focus, day 5, is how to be in pleasure even when we are challenged. So you can join.com. So there's the link to join the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge, wildwitchywise.com. It is ongoing. Our last day is on Tuesday. Paula, yeah, I'm so glad to get to share the land, that the internet up here at my neighbor's house is strong enough to do live. So exciting. It's so good. And later today, I'm going to go trim some more trees, and then I'm going further down the hill. I'll just show you this incredible, I don't know if you can see, there's a really beautiful pasture down there. And then down the hill is my neighbor, Marla. And Marla and I is going to teach me how to make soap, how to make lye soap today. So that's my next adventure. It's a good day. So how are you all doing? I'll stay on for another 10 minutes. And these lives are just a place for us to connect, for me to share about the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge and where we are. Today is day 5, and we're talking about how to be in pleasure even when we are challenged. How are you all? How are your hearts? What are you navigating? What are you celebrating? What transition are you in right now in your life? So if you want to share, please feel free to share in the chat. For those of you that are listening to this recording later, if you have a question or something you want to share, please reach out to us at hello@warriorgoddess.com. I'm happy to answer any questions or just hear how you are in that way. And for those of you that are just joining us, we are on day 5 of the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge. The Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge is a 7-day challenge where we're exploring how to bring in more play and pleasure into our everyday lives. I am up at my neighbor's house outside of Warrior Heart Ranch, the ranch that I steward outside of the Santa Fe National Forest. And I'm so delighted to have internet. Oh, beautiful, Pascal. I'm finally becoming my authentic self. Yes, good. That, for me, is becoming wild, rewilding ourselves. So the places that we bring on masks and have agreements, and where we're domesticated into how we should be, how we think we should be, the places that we've tried in our life to be perfect, to fit in, to please everybody else. What we're doing is releasing all of that domestication so we can get back to our wild, authentic selves. So, yay, keep going. Hi, Paula. I'm recuperating from major surgery 3 weeks ago. And it's wonderful to have this challenge to help navigate through it. Oh, happy is not the right word, but blessed healing to you post-surgery. And I'm glad that the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge is helping to hold sacred space for you as you navigate through. Oh, beautiful. I love it. Hi, Facebook user. Share your name if you want to, because I just see Facebook user. I love the meditation. My circle was the sun, and I realized I need to recognize and acknowledge my own light. Beautiful. Yeah, that's another thing that's part of the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge, is that there are visualizations and meditations as well. So good. I'm glad that that was supportive to you. It's day 5 of the Warrior Goddess Challenge. So if you haven't joined us, please feel free to. Everything's recorded, so you can watch the previous videos and start right where you are now, wildwitchywise.com. You're so welcome, Paula. Good. Anyone else, how are you? How's your heart? What are you navigating in your life right now? I wanna share this tree with you. I'm gonna walk over here because this to me is just the I don't even know how to explain it. I think you can see it, but just the wildness of nature in what can happen. Let me see if I can stay on the internet as I walk over here. So, neighbor's house, and I don't know if you can see those trees behind. Those trees behind are alive, but the bark is pitch black because the fire burned that house to the ground. But the trees somehow survived. So interesting, isn't it? I'm focusing on being more balanced between everything I need to do to maintain my household and work with small pieces of pleasure every day, no matter how small. Good. Yes, that is the balance. That is the balance. And I think that's such a great lesson with equinox, the equinox coming up, is that, this idea of balance is that it's just, we can just do little changes that have big effects. So that place of just remembering and reminding ourselves that reconnecting to our authentic, wild, creative self is not about changing everything in our lives or suddenly having hours and hours that we can focus on pleasure. I mean, that may happen, yay. And what I want to share and what I'm sharing through the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge is that we do little baby steps of bringing pleasure in all the time. And to not put off our pleasure and to not like make it this big thing that we have to do, but just every moment, little places. How can I bring pleasure? How can I bring in more play? How can I open? Hey, Tammy. Yes, bundle up and go for a walk. It's beautiful outside. It's cold here, obviously, but it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Yesterday was so fun. We went walking and it started raining, and it was just so lovely to be outside in the rain, even though it was cold. It was being alive, being connected to nature. Mhm. Yes. So little baby steps bring in pleasure and play. You don't have to. Good. After the live, yes. You don't have to put off your pleasure even when you're in a challenge. In fact, to help you get through the challenge, it's incredibly important to keep bringing in pleasure in little ways. Okay, to not put it off, to take a moment to look at the trees. Now, I'm writing about this in my newsletter this weekend that'll be out on Tuesday, but we just cut down one of the big trees by the creek here. It was one of my favorite trees, and it was really heartbreaking to have to cut it down. It was completely destroyed by the fire. It was pretty dangerous because it was hollowed out, which those are the trees that are breaking. So that tree got cut down. I videoed it. You got to watch the video. Tuesday newsletter. And then after that, this flock, I don't know if you even call it a flock, of migrating bluebirds, like little baby blue, oh my God, came through, migrating through the land. And there were probably 50 of them. They just kept coming. And I was like, yep, this is it. Like the heartbreak of putting down this beautiful tree and watching these bluebirds just sing and play and frolic through the forest. Yeah. Hey, Robin. Yes, in 2022, I met the man who became my betrothed. Then both my dogs each went over the Rainbow Bridge about 2 months apart. Then I got engaged. Oh my gosh. Then 2 weeks later, he transitioned unexpectedly. Sweetheart. Now I'm facing the first anniversary of all these events. I'm in constant touch with all of them and doing my best to regain the joy of our time and physical and now our evolving relationship to that transcends physical. Yes. Oh, sweetheart, that's so much. And yes, when we have those just deep, sorrowful losses, it can help us to open more fully into love, and that they may not be here physically and there's still a relationship. There's still beauty. And I'm sorry for your heartbreak. That's a lot. And blessed anniversary of that time. And may it continue to hollow you out in the best way so that there's more room for joy in your being. Yeah, I'll share a poem before we close today. And thanks for sharing, Robin. Yes, after washing all the dishes, I'm going outside to play with one of my dogs who's outside in the snow with her soccer ball. She desperately wants me to play with her. I love that about animals. They're like, who cares that there's snow on the ground? Let's play. Yeah, who cares what else is happening? And they're a great, animals are such a beautiful reminder to come back into play regardless. Yeah, and those birds, yesterday was such a good reminder because they didn't care that the trees were burned. They are just like landing on things and pecking on the ground and singing to each other. It was just amazing. Mm-hmm. All right, so here's a poem. Some of you have heard me recite this before. I was practicing it, and I just shared it with another group, and it's such a perfect equinox. You may hear me share it again. So this is a poem from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Yeah. So your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the same self-well from where your laughter rises was oft-times filled with your tears. And how else could it be? The deeper the sorrow carves in your being, the more joy you can contain. I love that you grew up on The Prophet. Yay! The more joy that you can contain. Is not the very cup that holds your wine, the same cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood who is hollowed by knives? Some of you say joy is greater than sorrow, while others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits with you alone at your board, remember the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are balanced like scales between your joy and your sorrow. Only where you are empty and at standstill are you balanced. And when the treasure keeper comes to lift you up and weigh his gold and silver, needs must your joy and sorrow rise or fall. So again, that's from The Prophet, and what a beautiful, just such a great poem around how to hold and understand that joy and the sorrow are the same. They are inseparable. That what we grieve, oh, there's a whole chunk of it that I forgot. Let me see if I can find it. Because there's a really beautiful piece. Ah, there it is. When you are joyful, look deeply in your heart, and you shall see that that which has brought you joy, sorrow, is bringing you joy. And when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall find that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. So, blessed day to you as we open into new beginnings, as we step into seeding new dreams. We're coming up to the spring equinox, which is the time of balanced day and night, a time to honor the joys and the sorrows in our life. And also this equinox is really special because there's a new moon in Aries. So there's a lot of new beginnings and new birthing, that seeding new potential that's here. And for those of you that are just joining, hi. I'm sharing today about the Warrior Goddess. We're in the middle of the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge. Today is day 5. If you haven't joined us, feel free to sign up. Wild, Willing, Wise. Ooh, look at the clouds behind me. Looks like it's going to rain again. How exciting. So wildwitchywise.com, Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge. Today's day 5. We're exploring how to be in pleasure even when we're challenged. And even if you're just joining the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge now, you are welcome. Everybody's welcome to join, and everything's recorded, so you can go back and watch the previous videos or just start where we are, day 5. We have 2 more days. The Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge is 7 days, and it's been just a true joy for me to share this Warrior Goddess Wild challenge. And you all will be the first to hear that I'm also going to be offering a 4-part series called Wild Willing Wise. So that's coming up next week. We'll be announcing it. So blessed day to each of you. Take good care of yourselves. Thanks for joining me today. And again, join the Warrior Goddess Wild Challenge, wildwitchywise.com. And the new course that's coming up is also going to be called wildwitchywise.com. Look forward to seeing you there, hopefully, and take good care of yourselves. Blessed day, sweet ones. Bye-bye.